Hello, good morning. It's Tracy Daviero with your VA Mentor. Welcome to our Facebook Live. Why do I always forget what these things are called? Welcome to our live session. Every Monday morning, we're here at 12 noon Eastern and talking about one thing every week that you can sort of focus on, look at, learn about, and get some resources for your virtual assistant business. So today, I want to talk about client intake documents. There's a lot that gets said about client onboarding and that kind of thing. Hold on one second here. I just have a window here that I got to close. I hope I'm not closing the wrong one. There we go. We're still here. So there's a lot to be said about onboarding and that kind of thing. And sometimes what I see is that VAs who are starting to get going and starting to get set up, they end up with a client before they realize that they are that they're not ready to go. So I've seen oftentimes a post in a VA forum that says, I think I've got my first client. Does anybody have a contract I need? Or, does anybody have a contract they can share? Oh, hold on one second. So, can you bring my charger? Oh. Hold on 1 minute. I'll be right back. I was trying to call you, but you weren't paying attention. I'm here, hold on. There we go. All right. Here we are back through the magic of live internet. Sorry about that. I forgot I had my laptop unplugged most of the morning, and so it was just about to die on me. So I'm going to start again. And I'll edit this for the YouTube portion of the video. So anyway, so one of the things that happens whenever VAs are first getting started is that they, I'm puffing now because I ran to get my charger. So they are, sometimes they don't have the paperwork that they need to get their business going. And so I've seen in the VA forums where people say, I think I've got my first client. Does anyone have a contract they can share? Or what do I do next? And that type of thing. And so I want to make sure that you're really prepared to bring on clients, because when you are thinking about it, and even when you start talking to people about your business, you need to have these things in place already. So I'm just going to talk today about some of the intake documents that you should have set up. And if you don't have them set up already, then you can start to sort of source these things. And I'll give you a little bit of insight as we go along as well. So the very first thing you need is you need to get a signed agreement from your client, from your new client, or have one ready to go for when you're going to have clients, okay? So what that entails is generally a legal document, and I own the Canadian Association of VAs and the Global Alliance of VAs. We actually do have sample contracts in there. So, that's one of the good things about joining an association, that you can get documentation like that. And then what you can do is you can edit those things so that they suit your business, because not everything that you get that's stock is going to be, the best thing for you. So, but you can look over, you can have a lawyer look things over whenever you get things set up. But I started, way back when, and I joined the Canadian Association of VAs, and I took that contract, and that was good enough for me until I started building, extra things into my own business. But the bottom line is you need something that you provide to the client. And sometimes it gets confusing as to who gets the contract and who does the contract. And because you are the contractor, because you're the one who is actually contracting, the client is going to pay you, it is on you to have your own contract. So the things that you want to put in your contract are obviously the scope of work that you're going to do, the amount of money that they're going to pay you, the terms on which they're going to pay you, because that's important. You need to be advised of when your invoices are going to be delivered and when they're supposed to be paid. And other things like confidentiality and communication, like how you communicate with each other. There are lots of things that you can put into an agreement, but the bottom line is that you have to have one to protect yourself and to protect the client. Okay, so it's really important document to have in place. If you don't have one yet, then definitely make sure that you are looking to put one of those in place. And don't work with anybody who doesn't sign a contract with you. And the one thing that gets, another thing that gets confusing about contracts sometimes, and it only affected me once with with one client who is timing. What am I trying to say? Contract dates? I can't remember. Anyway, I'm going to describe it because I can't think of the word for it right now. So length, I guess, the contract length. So when I send out my contract, I don't put, I don't tell them it's a year-long contract or 6 months or 3 months or anything like that. What I put into it is what the date of the contract, the date the contract begins, and then I put an out clause at the end of it. Okay, and like I say, I've used the same contract for a long time. I just kind of, add the odd thing to it now and again. But for the most part, the payment terms and dissolution of the contract is usually the last thing, right? So how does somebody get out of the contract? And so for me, it's always been immediately within the first 30 days, either party for any reason can get out, which I think protects both of us if I find that I have a client who's just not working out. Or if the client finds that, it's just not working out for them. So that's a safety net for both of us to say within the first 30 days, if this isn't working, we can both get out without any penalty. And I've always, if somebody prepays me, I've always just paid them back the money. I never worry about it. It's a lot easier to do that than it is to, try and figure out how to work with somebody if it's not going to work out. And then the second piece of it is that after that initial 30 days, then 30 days written notice from either party is allowed to dissolve the agreement. So what that means is then I can say on the first of the month, I can say to the client, this is going to be the last month, we'll go through this, I can phase you out or, move you on to somebody else or whatever it is. And they can also do the same thing. So again, it's only 30 days. Sometimes that's a scary thing, but I've always given at least 30 days notice or sometimes even more to any clients that I'm working with. And so if I decide that I'm going to let somebody go, I know that I have to give them the 30 days notice and I just work it out. Sometimes you have to get rid of a difficult client and it's just often worth it to suck it up and get through the 30 days. It sometimes can be really hard. I've had some really, really hard clients that I knew I had to get rid of, but in the end of the 30 days, I left them and everything was fine. And I didn't have to worry about them again after that. But sometimes it's, you need a little rah whenever you're getting rid of a really crappy client like that. So the signed agreement is the most important thing. The next part of your intake is you need to gather all of the client information. And maybe you did this before in your proposal, or maybe, through the contact that you've had with them. Maybe you've already gathered their information. You need their name, their company name, their mailing address, their phone number, their email addresses, all of that kind of stuff. You want to make sure that you have all of that stuff on file. Some people also collect some interesting stuff like, birthdays or interests and that kind of thing, because sometimes depending on the size of your client, sometimes you like to send them little gifts and that kind of thing. So whatever you have in terms of your client retention strategy and that type of thing, you want to make sure that you are gathering their contact information and you're putting it into the CRM. And your CRM can be, I think I talked about this on another call, but your CRM can be anything from an Excel spreadsheet to, from a spiral notebook to an Excel spreadsheet to a CRM system. It's really up to you. So I'm just going to lower this slightly. So but you want to be able to collect their information. The next thing you want to provide to them, and sometimes you can provide that in an email, like an introductory email or a welcome email or a welcome package, or you can provide it in your contract. However that works is a how I work document is sort of what I've been taught to call it. I think that it makes kind of a lot of sense, how we work together, and it's a welcome packet. So basically what you want to do is you want to give them, the information about what goes where. And so it's not as contracty. It's a little bit, it's a little more casual than, hold on a second. It's a little more casual than signing a contract and getting it back to you, which sometimes clients read and sometimes clients don't. I'm not going to lie. I've had a lot of clients and, so I should get back to, sorry, I just want to double back on that, on the contract termination date. That was the one termination date. Is the one client, she actually didn't read my contract. She just said, I can't believe that you would make me sign a contract, when we haven't even started working together. Like we were colleagues, we knew each other. And it just indicated to me, and this is the way I responded to her, that I said, you mustn't have read it because there's absolutely nothing looping you into like a year-long contract or even a 6-month contract or anything like that. So it's very, very important, but sometimes clients don't read that stuff. Okay. They just sign it because they look at the money, they look at the terms, and sometimes they don't even look at the terms. One little tip actually for you is I put initial boxes beside the important stuff. So when they do have to initial something, they have their initials right beside like the rate, you know, the terms and those kinds of things. So you want to make sure that your client is looking at all pages of your contract. So anyway, so we go back to, what are we on here? The welcome packet. So the welcome packet can be something that's more friendly, and try not to make it too long, because you're basically trying to make sure that they're looking through all of the documentation. So you can let them know if you use a particular project management system, send them their login information for that, you know, all those kinds of things. But in terms of a welcome packet, just let them know that you're happy to have them as a client, and let them know all the things that you can do to help, you know, your relationship as clients and VA build and grow in the best way possible. So the next thing you need, and actually this might even be out of order because I send this actually before I send the contract, or at the same time as I send the contract, is an invoice. So you need to have an invoicing system of some sort. You can start with just a Word doc, or, you know, whatever, Pages doc or whatever it is on Mac. So you can start with just a document that has, you know, the number of hours and your bill, you know, billing number, address, invoice number, all that kind of stuff on it. That's the simplest thing that you can do. It does get rather labor intensive after you start to get a few clients in the door. So it is really important to identify, you know, how many clients you're looking to get. If you're looking to get, you know, if you think you only need 3 clients for the foreseeable future, you might look at something like FreshBooks or something that has, you know, limitations of how much it costs you, but it makes things a lot easier. It helps you to track things. It helps you to take online payments, those kinds of things. So there's lots of different services and ways that you can actually invoice your clients. But looking at the solution that needs to work for you right out of the gate, look and see, figure out how many clients you're actually going to be working with, and try and set up something from there. If you think you might have, you know, you're looking to have 15 clients, maybe you want to go right to something like QuickBooks Online or whatever it is. So I'm not going to give you some suggestions on how to do that, but the point is you need an invoicing system of some sort so that you can put things together as easily as possible, and you can get that information to your clients whenever you need to build them. And you need a filing system set up. So whatever that is for you, I've always maintained a paper file, an online file, and an email file for my clients. That's kind of the way I do my filing. So the paper file used to be for passwords and that kind of thing. Now really all it has is the signed contract and stuff. And so because I do have EchoSign, which is an online system where people can just log in and digitally sign something, but I like to have that printed copy, because then if I ever go looking for it, you know, it's kind of handy. And so I used to keep passwords way back in the day on a piece of paper on the inside of the file folder for my clients, which is pretty funny. But I print so very little stuff now that, you know, the paper file is almost obsolete. So, but that's, you know, if you have things that are of a contractual nature, you may want to be able to keep a paper file of it. And so that's good. And then, you know, my client notes and that kind of thing that I take, I do those all on paper. I would file those also into the client folder. So that's the paper folder, if that's a step that you want to do. A lot of people just do these things online and digitally now. So the second thing is the folder on your computer. I like to use Dropbox for my documentation. What that means is I have a Dropbox account then that I can access anywhere I want, and I can access it on my phone, my laptop, my PC, everywhere. I moved my files a long time ago. I had a computer crash a few years ago, and so I used Carbonite as my backup solution, which was fine, and I loaded everything back on, but I realized that I had everything like on my C drive of my PC, and it didn't make any sense to me to you know, be only having the access on the one computer. If I had had Dropbox at that point, then, you know, it really wouldn't have made that much a difference that my computer was crashed. So anyway, so what I do is now I moved actually all of my filing system onto Dropbox. And so I have very little that I keep on my computer now, and I find that very, very helpful. So, and it's good, you know, you can share folders and files with clients and that kind of thing. I also use Google Drive. So that's another big thing that I do in my business. But in terms of setting up a system for, you know, the things that you want to keep for your clients, because I also learned a long time ago from one lovely, lovely client that, you know, the Dropbox that we both had access to, she could delete things from it. And she did. She deleted all kinds of things one particular weekend. And I was like, oh my God, where's all my stuff? So now I have a, you know, one for clients and one right beside it that's with, you know, that's for the client as well, but that's the shareable one. So, but it keeps things very handy and very tidy. And like I said, I can access everything anywhere that I am. If you travel, then that's obviously a really good thing. So, Yeah, so those are the 5 things that I would say. There's lots of other things. I have this lovely big list of things, but if you have those 5 things to start, especially if you haven't started your business yet, you're going to be really in a good position to be able to keep things organized, have what you need. The worst thing that you can do is to sign a client and then take 2 days to get a contract to them, right? So if that's something that you don't have right now, you want to make sure that you do get that in place and be able to provide that for them quickly, know the answer to how are they going to pay you, and just be able to tell them. It's not about how the client wants to pay you. Well, I'd like to pay like this, or I'd like to pay like that. You should have at least an online option for them to pay you. I still take e-transfers and credit cards online. PayPal in a pinch. I don't use PayPal as much as I used to anymore because I have a merchant account. So, but you want to be able to let them know what your preferred method of payment is, and then kind of go from there. So, yeah, I hope that gave you some good tips this week, and apologize for the little blip at the beginning. It always seems to be something. It's Monday, what are you going to do? And anyway, I'll leave my laptop plugged in now, and won't have to worry about that. So anyway, thanks so much for being here. I would love to hear your comments or your questions, and I will see you here next Monday at noon. Thanks. Take care.